Okay. Hello, everyone. Seriously, this is the best special guest you can ever ask for. Tomaz, can you please introduce this beautiful being to us?
Yes, this is Mrs. Perkins. She says hello. Hello, Mrs. Perkins.
Hey, Mrs. Perkins, you're so sweet. I love her. Oh my goodness, the face is like everything. Oh, love her.
She's very cute, isn't she?
So cute.
Now Porrick is standing here and he's upset because he wants to say hello.
Please, please. Oh my gosh, thank you. I knew I had to start like this. I don't care because dogs are the best humans.
Come on, jump up.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so it's the same breed.
Yes, they're brothers and sisters.
Okay, so what's his name?
Porrick.
Wow. Okay, and are they how they came to your life? Was it adoption?
Actually, I'm here at my friend's place, friend's Sue's place, because I just moved out of London, as you know. So I'm here at her annex in a temporary accommodation, and I love the dogs.
I love them. Oh my gosh. They are like super, super old souls.
They are actually, both of them. They're so cute.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Tomaz, thank you. By the way, everyone, this is Tomaz, and we never connected before in this form.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you for showing. I love them. Okay, so I just want to say that I invited Tomaz to talk to because I saw his last chat with JCK, whom we both dearly love and appreciate very much. And I saw that conversation and I was like, I just have to talk to him. I literally felt it. I have to talk to you because I don't even know much about you. And that's all right. But I just heard a few things and I was like, I want to ask him about it more. So yes. Tomaz, can you, because I don't want to jinx your life, can you introduce yourself?
Basically, yeah, I'm just thinking, it's like, what is the best way to say? I'm an Ayurvedic professional, so I'm trained in the area of Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine. And I have started my journey of awakening almost about 30 something years ago. So I got into Ayurveda through learning how to meditate. And cutting a long story short, I was in a government official position. I left my job. I spent 10 years in an ashram where I have been learning about Ayurveda and meditation and various aspects of Vedic science. And in the past about 15 years, I've been working as an Ayurvedic practitioner, or I would say health professional and healer. And of course, Anya, as we go through our own journey, things always change and evolve. And people ask me, so what is it actually that you do? And I think the best way to put it is I support people on their journey to well-being and transformation, utilizing the ancient wisdom tradition of Ayurveda and other aspects of Vedic science. But in the last 1.5 years, my personal journey has really sort of taken me onto very much more onto the shamanic healing side of things. Yeah, so that is it basically.
It's so fast. Thank you. I love this. Everything like I'm like so interested in. It's amazing stuff. Amazing. Tomaz, first let me ask you that ashram, what was it?
It was in Holland. So it was with the Transcendental Meditation Movement with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So I was basically based in Holland. And my job was to train therapists in the area of Ayurveda and Ayurvedic treatments. And I was teaching and traveling around the world. I was opening Ayurvedic clinics in various continents and places. It took me to Japan, to Russia, to America.
Wow.
So I did that for about 10 years. And then, you know, when you come to a realization that all of a sudden a shoe that you have been wearing for a long time has become too small, I knew I had to leave the nest. Personally, I'm very grateful for what I have gained. And I wouldn't be the person today without the time that I spent. And if you ask me, perhaps in a nutshell, what is it that I learned in those 10 years? It's trust.
Yeah,
trust in nature, trust in myself, and really being able to jump into the unknown and not feeling left and not feeling abandoned and not feeling that, being anxious. Of course, there's always a bit of a rough bit on the journey, and I've recently moved out of London, which was really, I can tell you, this is the first interview that I've been doing, and I was trying to do some interviews on my YouTube channel or for my Instagram account, but I wasn't really in the space. It was very emotional for me. I was thinking, why is that? I think once you are, and I've lived in London for 11 years, I've had all my client base, my patient base in London, and just pulling myself out of there and uprooting myself in the middle of the country. I'm just in the countryside, near the beach. I love the water. I knew I had to get out of the city. My job was done, Anya. When I moved to London about 11, 12 years ago, everybody said, how on earth, why are you moving to such a busy city in London? And I said, I don't know. I really don't know, but I know I have to be there to help. This sounds weird, but to help with the energy, to help clearing the energy, keeping at least my vibration up as much as possible, to do what needs to be done. And in the last year, especially in the last 6 months, it was like from one day to the other, your job is done.
Wow.
And this was basically because I used to have a little pilgrimage to the trees. There's a beautiful, I mean, London has beautiful parks.
Can I tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt, I love London.
Yes.
I have it's past life connection for me.
Yes.
But it's also something I still have to fulfill in this lifetime. And actually, I'm going to London next month. Through London.
Really?
Through London. Through London.
Okay.
So, you know, everyone has different, I understand, like some people they don't like, but then for me, I have this like spots, something they activate something within me.
Yes.
When I go there and I'm like, here we go. And then it's like the frequency. But anyway, so you were talking about the tree, the places to the trees. What was it?
I mean, the trees, it's basically unmanicured park, a part of the Regent's Park area in central London, because I used to live really in the center. And that was my pilgrimage over the past year, just really going there almost twice a day, going in nature, getting onto the grass, sitting under the tree. And it was like, it's time for you to go. You have done what you need to do. There's one more thing, they said. It was, and the tree told me his name is Mohuta. He said, there's one more thing you have to do. You have to do one more ceremony.
Oh.
And because I work with various shamanic rituals, so I got myself just a few weeks ago into the park, just sat under the tree, did my ritual, put my feet on the ground. And it was basically really at that time, truly connecting with the earth through my feet and healing the earth, sending the light, sending the energy into the earth. And it was quite funny because when with some of the rituals I do, I incorporate plant medicine.
Yes.
Which mainly tobacco, because tobacco is very grounding. It's extremely purifying and cleansing. And it was quite funny when I started the ritual, I went through all the physical aches and pains. And I heard the voice of the tree telling me, just get beyond yourself. Just concentrate on what you are asked to do and put your energy into the ground. Clear, use the tobacco energy to clear the ground and work with the soil and work with the frequencies, the healing energy within Mother Nature, but within the earth. And it was like really very clear then I have done what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I don't know, I don't want to really go into it, but one of the reasons why I obviously had to come to London is because I have been working with the family for many, many years.
With the firm.
With the firm, with the establishment.
Yes.
And yeah, there was an incident, like a psychic attack in January while I was there for about 10 days, because I used to do panchakarma and Ayurvedic treatments.
This year, Tomaz, this year?
This year, yeah. So, and that was like a big challenge for me. I just said something, I don't want to go into details, but I said something and I knew I had opened my mouth too much. There was something that I observed, and I just, yeah. And that night, it was actually 3 nights in a row where there was quite some stuff going on. And it took me actually 2.5 months to recover. Seriously, I had Joanne helping me.
Right.
Really to clear some of the stuff that was going on. And it was physical pain. Literally, I couldn't lift my right arm. I couldn't lift my right shoulder. It was my right side, right shoulder, right arm, right hip. And out of the blue, just like that, from one day to the other, waking up in the morning. And it was really bad. Can
I ask you something? Something came to me.
Yeah.
Was that part of your body closer to the other person when you commented?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, it was. And also it's the masculine side. So it's very much about shutting down and really not being in any shape or form, kicking up, basically.
Right. So now, okay. I have so much to talk to you about. Okay. So when I like to flow with these talks because So when you were talking about that ceremony near the tree and experiencing physical sensations, and the advice from the tree to go beyond, and focus like on the destination, right? Focus on where you're going. Yeah. You know what came to me? And this was like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a great analogy, because this is where I see from my experience on this platform with people, with quite some percentage of people, that when we stop, those pains represented to me the informations or the intels or the ideas or the mind pain. Like the mind pain is like block, and then it's like, so like connect, ground, flow. Yes, because if we focus on expansion, we are just transcending our physical body. Our physical body can transcend. And it's so true what you say, because last year I did a little journey with white rose. So I was sitting in the meditation and I got the information from my higher self to prepare a medicine to diet on white rose. Diet on white rose basically means you go into
a meditative space. I basically locked myself in my flat for about 4 days. I just go on juice fasting, meditating, and then taking a concentrated version of the medicine that I had prepared. So these were the roots, the bark, the roots, the stem, and the leaves of the white rose bush. And at some stage during this 4-day journey, when you take it in increasing dosage, you connect with the spirit of the plant. And this is how I really enjoy to learn how plants work. Mm-hmm. Now I have to be careful that I'm not going on a tantrum, but I was teaching in Japan many, many years ago. And because of customs, we had difficulties to get the herbs into the country. So one of my Ayurvedic teachers says, we just go into the woods and we just see what is available there. And I said, but how do you know? And he said, the trees, the plants, mm-hmm. they speak to me and they will tell me mm-hmm. which one to choose. So we actually were able to pick up all the herbs that we needed for a particular treatment and the teaching from the forest in Japan. So coming back to the white rose, which was really interesting, I think it was on day 2 or something, Anya, I had such a massive headache and migraine attack. It was like, and I know this was also because migraine runs in my family. So there's a family history of migraine, and I was connecting to clearing some of the ancestral stuff of my mother and from her lineage. So, and I thought, I just can't bear this pain. It was really bad. And I thought, I should take a painkiller. Then I went to this dilemma, painkiller, no painkiller, painkiller, no painkiller. My ego was playing, oh, take a painkiller and you will be fine. And then my higher self, you can't take, this is not going to work. So anyway, I didn't take a painkiller, but what happened was I realized that the energy of the thorns of the white rose taught me that when we identify ourselves with our physical body, we are susceptible to experiencing the pain. And the pain at that moment, what the thorns said, or what I got from the energy of the plant in itself, in particular the thorns, was they protect us. They protect us, but we have to be careful that we don't become slaves of that protection. So basically, don't identify yourself with the thorns. No, they are there. No, they help us and protect us. But at the same time, they keep us stuck in the matrix. They keep us stuck in the 3D body. So when I realized to go beyond the pain by actually understanding why the thorns were there to protect the rose, it just lifted within about half an hour. Incredible.
So that is like how I, through quite a long time already, see that I don't have headaches at all. But when one was this solar, full moon solar something in May, was it June, July, something like, I knew that I was stretching out. I had such a crazy pain in my head. Yes. That it was like I was expanding with every particle.
Yes.
But I think for us, overall humans, I think we give our attention and awareness on the pain, recreating this pain over and over, and remembering the pain. Because it's like, when it's so simple, when you have pain here, and then you will have stronger pain here, you don't think about this, you think about this.
Yes.
And so it's how long we stay there, really, how long we think about it. But you know what I want to ask you, Tomaz? I want to ask you about this, what you said on JC's talk. It was so interesting to me. You are in this ashram.
Yeah.
And the teacher or master, whoever it was, told you guys to prepare for this event coming.
Oh, yes. I remember what you...
okay, I was like, this is the moment, like, this is it, like, time out, okay? This is the moment. And I'm like, can you tell us about it? This whole situation was so fascinating. Like, you were preparing, and then what happened?
Yes, so maybe just let's rewind a little bit. According to the Vedic traditions, there is a process which is called Kayakalpa. Kayakalpa is an ancient ritual and an ancient cleansing technique that is still used in the Himalayan mountains today, where you basically completely withdraw from any sensory experience. So in a nutshell, there are, imagine you would be sitting in a dark space, in a cave, there's no exposure to sound, no light source, no artificial any light source, completely on your own. And at the time, when you look at the Vedic text, they would give you mantras,
Okay.
so certain recitations, and they will only feed you once a day with some medicated milk, herbal milk, some medicated milk. And then what happens according to
Can you drink water?
You can drink water,
okay.
Yes. So, and then what happens in the process of time, and this is recorded in the ancient texts that are 10,000 years old already, you start rejuvenating from within. So basically, as part of the process, which is the scary bit, you start losing your nails, your teeth, your hair falls out, and you completely regrow your, regrow those aspects of your physiology. But you can imagine being locked up in a cave in the dark for 3 to 6 months, how much of mental strength that requires. So during the 90s, there was a project where we were preparing a space, which was basically preparing a room, and completely blacked out the room and made it soundproof and all of that, basically simulating a cave. And there was one particular person who was supposed to go into the cave and to undergo this rejuvenative Kayakalpa treatment. So there was all this hype and everything. And then just a couple of days when we were actually asked to, when that person was really basically asked to start his journey, Maharishi called it off. And he called it off, he said, collective consciousness is not ready for this experience. So we ask, but what has this to do with collective consciousness? It's the individual consciousness. And it was very clear that although that person would go through the journey as the male who he was in the mid-40s, but still he would be linked to the collective. And because the collective was really still very dense and very low vibration, it would be counterproductive to the process that he was going to go through. That's why the masters actually have gone through the Himalayan mountains, up in the heights of 4,000 meters, 3,000 meters high, sitting in the cave, because the energy is clear, the vibration is clear.
Yes.
And this is how they go through. And the reason why I mentioned it was mainly because we were talking about the medbeds at the time. Yes.
And I have to say to you that when you said it, I felt the perfect timing for that right now.
Yes.
And I felt like when you were talking about it, I actually saw this rejuvenation in individuals' experiences without having any cave.
Yes.
And
now.
And now this really connects another thing with my awareness, because Tomaz, this is so incredible. So a few months ago, I talked to a girl, her name is Eliana Danan, and she communicates with Torhan, and they are connected. It's you know, it's like from another, the Galactic Federation level.
Yes. Yes.
And I had this beautiful conversation with him through her one day, a few months ago. She was telepathically communicating with him, so he was answering my questions. And I asked him, one of my questions was, is there any place or a building on Earth still present right now that they are linked with? Okay. And he said that those buildings don't exist anymore, but that used to be in the ancient mountains of Himalaya.
Wow, see, I get goosebumps. Yes, yes, totally. And I want to share with you what I've done last year during the most amazing transformative year, 2020. I decided to do a blackout retreat. Now listen to this, it was quite funny. Once I've gone through the rose journey, my higher self told me to prepare the next medicine to prepare with oak. So I was preparing the oak medicine, the oak material, which was basically some bark and root from the oak, came from Hungary, from a volcanic valley in Hungary. My friend Edina, she got me the material. And when I prepare the medicine, I do it with frequencies. So I add frequencies to it. I add mantras and chants to it. So it takes about a week or 10 days to prepare the medicine. And I thought that was it. But just before I was going to start, they told me it should be a blackout retreat. And then I said, how on earth am I going to be able to do a blackout retreat in the middle of London in my little flat with those big windows? Anyway, so I got myself blackout curtains and I completely darkened my entire flat. And for about 5 days, I sat in silence. So I had no artificial light source. I had no, of course, it didn't quite work because there was still some noise that was audible because of the noise in the street. So I got a sense, a little bit a sense of day and night. However, as you know, living in the center of a big city, in a sense, there's noise all the time. So I even blacked out my fridge. So I prepared all my food, my juices, and I blacked out my kettle because when you switch on the kettle, the light goes on. You know, this is, I was very German. I thought if I do it properly. And it was quite funny.
Everything was in Ordnung.
Yes, in Ordnung. The first couple of, the first day actually, I was really at some stage laughing about myself. I found myself, listen to this, in the dark, on a chair, pinning some more pins onto the wall because there was a little bit light coming through the black curtains. And then I thought, this is typical me. This is a typical German trait to just go overboard. So I really had to laugh. And there was another funny incident because I had blueberries. I love blueberries. And I had a porridge that I prepared, a very plain porridge, just water and oats. Everything was just lined up. So I knew the third oil on the left was lavender. The fourth oil from the right was frankincense. So I had it all figured out in my head. And then I got to the kitchen, I got some blueberries, and you know what? I dropped the blueberries. So I spent, and this is how our mind
what
works.
Was the outcome? What was the raising point of this? Like, how did this end? What's the happy end?
The thing is, what I started to realize is how busy we keep our mind from distracting ourselves to go within.
Yeah.
Because rather than me sitting with silence, and just it took me a little while. I actually couldn't let go until I found the last blueberry because my only thought was, if I step into the blueberry, it will be on my white carpet. So that was my fear.
So you are like German Swiss.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, but what I got out of that was, once I settled in, and it took me really about 2-3 days to settle in the process, I really faced the deepest of fears. I started to see in the dark. It was almost like I had X-ray eyes. So I could see the energy of objects in the space. So it's like everything had an aura. And I was sensing, so really heightened sensory perception. But the difficulty was when I came out of those 5 days of darkness, I asked my friend to come over to provide me with some soup, some warm soup in the evening, and to help me getting out of it. So he lit a candle. I could not bear the light of a candle. I felt nauseous, I felt dizzy. I'm not joking. This was after 5 days of being totally exposed to the darkness. And I had to gradually get used to it. It took me about 2 weeks to recover from this retreat. But it was amazing to understand many things about myself, my own obsessions, my fears, my anxieties. I mean, there was also some very beautiful beings that came, and the light that came into the room one night while I was sleeping. So it was a mix of experiences. But then also to understand that when we really concentrate on development of our senses, how much we are expanding, how much we are actually able to use one channel. Let's say you use the channel of sense of smell and cultivate that sense of smell. You can start basically hearing, tasting, touching with the sense of smell. I know it sounds weird.
No, I love it. I agree with you. Yes.
So, and even the sense of sight, you can start to hear with the sense of sight. And it's almost like every sense has access to all the senses.
Absolutely. I totally. When you have a strong hearing, actually, I know from my past lives, I have very strong hearing. And I can literally, when I hear, I see the image already, what I'm hearing.
Yes, yes.
So this is exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know, Tomaz, what came to my mind when you were sharing this?
Yes.
I was thinking about, let's say, the dark side.
Yeah.
If they stay too long and they keep it from generation to generation and they stay in the darkness, they literally cannot bear the light.
Exactly. And I tell you, it was so difficult. It was literally a tea light, Anya, in the other corner of my room. I had my eyes closed. I blinked and I felt nauseous and I felt dizzy. So you're right. They cannot bear the light.
They cannot bear. And you know, Tomaz, you know what just came again? I love this. It's like very pure. It's just kind of, so now I understand like the symbol. Okay, let's use her as an example, like Princess Diana, right?
Yes.
So here comes Diana, and it's like freaking, the light is everywhere.
Yeah.
And they cannot take it. Like they kind of crave it, like they crave it, but they cannot coexist in this. Like it triggers.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. This is really, really, really fascinating experience.
It was tough. It was really tough because, as you all know, and I'm sure your listeners know or are aware of, you know, embarking on the journey of expansion and growth, it requires quite some guts.
Yes.
It really requires a lot of courage because
and commitment.
The deeper you go, the further you go, the steeper it becomes, the thinner the air gets, the lonelier it becomes.
Like Abraham, one of my favorite teachers, always says, there is no crowd on the leading edge.
Yeah.
There is no crowd. Tomaz, I want to ask you about, I say Ayurveda. In Polish, in Poland, we say Ayurveda.
Yes.
So I tell you, and I want to ask your opinion because you are an expert in this. I've experienced some part of Ayurveda in my life, and
Yeah.
it was like they gave me a test and they said, pick up, okay, vata pitta kapha, are you vata pitta pitta kapha, okay? And then they decided what kind of treatment, but it was like a massage or like a oil dripping on third eye. And I was like so absolutely in love with those treatments. I love, it was like it was physical and spiritual and sensual, everything.
Yes.
But this is one part of Ayurveda, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there is also like Ayurvedic astrology, there is a diet. So can you tell me how much you can tell us? Like, what is this really? How you start with this? How you approach it?
Basically, how I approach it from my as a practitioner.
Yes, like if I come to you, like what would you tell me?
I mean, I would try to assess exactly what you have said. Is there a predominance of the element of space, air, fire, water, or earth? Those 5 elements, they combine into 3 aspects: vata, space and air, pitta, fire and water, and kapha, earth and water. They can be identified on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. So for example, the way your body is built, is it more a pitta type or a vata type? Vata type are more slender, slimmer built. Their bone structure is more thin. They may have a tendency towards joint challenges, so aching joints. Maybe their hair very often is more curly than straight hair. So these are physical features. But then the way I approach it is, I try to understand what is the right entry point for me to facilitate change in the other person. What I mean by that is, do I start working on a physical body, on the mental, emotional, spiritual, or energetic body? You can imagine some people, if I tell them stop smoking, stop drinking coffee and having alcohol, they would run away miles. And especially with the clientele that I have or have had mostly in the past. So you have to be very intuitive on how to approach it. If you then, for example, raise a person's frequency, how can you raise the frequency? By listening to sounds, and I use a vortex bed, which is basically, there are copper spirals and gemstones like blue sapphire and rubies.
I want this. I want this.
When you're here, you come, make a time. Well, anyway, we can chat about that.
I'm like already like this, not only interior design, but like energy.
I've got it downstairs in my crystal cave, but we have the difficulty with the internet, so we better stay here. So then when you raise the frequency, the person all of a sudden may wish to say, oh, I think I would like to do a detox. Okay. So without me dictating, you should do this and you shouldn't do this, it's more about activating your own self-repair mechanism. And this is the whole topic of my book that I've written. It's all about how to activate your doctor within. And by understanding your constitution, but then also to get an idea of what is it that is truly out of balance? Is it because you're emotionally completely shut down? Then you may need to work on an emotional level, maybe some Ayurvedic counseling, or sometimes even with patients, and this is where the other aspects come in. I would look at energetically Vedic astrology. So what are possible factors that may obstruct the healing process? And looking into astrology, looking into Vedic architecture, building in accordance with natural law. which basically the Vedic architecture's principles is you
Amazing.
build, and this is different from Feng Shui. So I want to be very clear. It's like saying, oh, having a conversation. One speaks French, the other one speaks Chinese. We have to decide. For me, I never resonated with Chinese medicine nor with Feng Shui. The Vedic knowledge, and this goes back lifetimes because I've spent lifetimes as monk and priest and practitioner and in India, as I know. So that means it looks at the flow of the sun. So where does the sun rise in the morning? In the east. So getting the energy of the east into the bedroom. Where is it in the northern hemisphere in its highest position? It's in the south. So when is it in the south? Lunchtime. This is where, for example, Ayurveda says we should have, suggests, we should have our main meal at lunch because our digestion is strongest at lunchtime. And imagine the sun is the fuel, the fire of the cosmic body. Like our gastric juices are strongest around lunchtime when it's in alignment with the sun. And this is the reasoning, for example, why Ayurveda suggests to have lunch the main meal and have a lighter meal in the evening. There are so many examples. Another one which is really beautiful I like to share. My grandmother, who is always with me, she's always here. She sits on my shoulder. She said to me when I was young, if you want to catch the last train of the angels, then best to go to bed before 10 o'clock. I really didn't understand until I studied Ayurveda, because according to Ayurveda, the times during the day change, they switch. At 10 o'clock, we go back into the fiery pitta time, which means our body is naturally more energetic. So by going to bed before 10 o'clock in an ideal world, you take the energy of the earth, the calming energy of vata, because kapha is made of vata, of water and earth. So you take the energy of water and earth into your sleep, which gives you much more profound and deep sleep. And of course, there are all the medical reasons. We know that human growth hormone is highest produced at the time before midnight. So the deepest phase, the first phase of our sleep is so crucial. So there are many more examples, and it depends. And I like to mention one important thing in a second. It depends really where I feel is the best starting point. And I like to get the power back to the people that I work with. Because Anya, I can have the best suggestions. I can have the most fabulous plan in my head, what could be done to this person to help them on a physical level or health-wise. But if they are not able to translate that into action, I have failed. And this is where a lot of practitioners, they have a very dogmatic approach. Oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. I always say to people, if you expect to come to me to go away with a diet plan that tells you exactly what to do and what not to do, then you're wrong. My job is to guide you to figure out what works for you. I can give suggestions, but in the end, it's your experience that encourages you to continue on your journey. It's not about me pointing out the finger, oh, this is because you have had, let's say, a pizza at nighttime, or you have had too much coffee. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't take a black and white approach to Ayurveda. In this sense, I'm not, although I'm trained in classical Ayurveda, but I have a very contemporary approach in Ayurveda simply because I believe even though the knowledge is ancient, it's thousands of years ago, times have changed. our life has changed.
Yeah.
Ayurveda has amazing principles. If we apply the principles, we are okay. But if we try to go into dogmatic way of describing this as a vata diet, pitta diet, kapha diet, look at it, Anya. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, the food that was available at that time is no longer available today. And in fact, the classical text, and this is where a lot of people go wrong, and then I will shut up. In the classical texts, there's no mentioning of vata, pitta, kapha diet. It is become a commercial product of the West to sell Ayurveda. What is mentioned in the classical texts is the principles of healthy eating habits. And this is, a lot of it is common sense.
It's really return to the rhythm of nature, isn't it?
Precisely.
So, yeah, which we are naturally born with this and we are just trained out of it.
Yes. We lose the connection, and this is where the senses come in. One of the Vedic texts says, one of the main reasons of why we are becoming ill is either overuse, underuse, or excess or no use of any of the 5 senses.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So sensory stimulation leads to imbalance and, in essence, dis-ease. So this is where, for example, retreats are so important, detox programs with training from certain behavioral patterns are so healthy and so important.
So Tomaz, before we end, I feel like I want to talk to you again already. But before we end, I want to ask you if you can share, what did they want you to work with them on, the firm? Without saying who, or like, I don't want to talk like overall, like, I'm just like, why that kind of energy is even like, you have your own tools, like stay with your own tools. That's how I see it from my vantage point. I'm like, so what are you trying to do? Like, you're doing your dark black stuff. Why you like taking a journey all of a sudden to something that is ancient and is completely on a different resonance with your energy?
Because they know that the Ayurvedic detox program, which is called Panchakarma, which is an elimination program, was originally only accessible to the royals, to the Maharajas of the ancient times. It has a very powerful rejuvenative process, and you can measure that on the length of the telomeres. So telomere shortening as part of age and stress accelerates aging, whereas meditation and specifically the Ayurvedic detox program lengthens your telomeres, which basically means are a very strong rejuvenative program.
So that is another, what's the word in English? Like, certain things for elites.
Exactly. That's how it used to be. But the good news is that it's much more accessible now in the West for the common person. And a lot of it is really common sense. So a lot of the stuff, especially if you go into deeper work, of course, you need the guidance of a professional to take you through it. But anybody can really access and look at healthy lifestyle habit, looks at, for example, sharing with your viewers, sipping of hot water is one of the best, simplest thing you can do to detox. So basically you boil the water, good quality water, for about 5-7 minutes. You put it in a thermos flask, and then you have small sips every about 20 minutes, half an hour. So the water becomes your medicine. And what the boiling does is, as we know, water contains information. The boiling changes the molecular structure of the water. It makes it easier to digest. That sounds funny, but it makes it easier to be absorbed by the cells. And that, when you do it in small sips, but frequently, helps with improving indigestion, symptoms of acid reflux, helps to reduce weight, helps to get rid of cravings. So hot water is a simple thing that anybody can do, which doesn't cost anything. It just costs the commitment to say, okay, for a few days, my water is my medicine. And yeah, so.
But you said this, and this came back to me now, that I used to work for many years in like very luxurious environments, like, for Chanel and all those companies. And when we had Chinese clients, they were always asking for hot water.
Yes.
And I always remember, like, I knew that there is something in it, because, and that time, a lot of people were like, why they are asking hot water, always hot water, never cold water. But Tomaz, you know what I want to ask you now before I let you go? How do you see this transition in this next year and a half? It's very fluid, but how do you see this, like, energy-wise? Let's say, like, in England, for example, how you feel the frequency now overall? Where you feel it's going, like the moves,
I think it's the first image that came to my mind when you asked me the question was a needle and a thread. So basically, it becomes more and more tight, more and more small, and it is like threading a piece of thread through the needle. And that means really a lot of stuff is going to fall away. A lot of, I don't want to use the word people, energies, souls are choosing just a different path. But I can feel it's building up, it's building up. We are through, in a way, those who are awakened, of course we feel it. It's so much energy, so much lighter. But on a 3D level, it becomes much, much, much more tighter. And because we have got a fluid 3D existence, it's easy for us to slip through the needle to come out on the other side. The energy in the UK, I'm glad I'm out of London. It's like anywhere in the world. It's just really, they try very hard. They still try very hard to keep us where they want us to be, but there's no chance. Victory all over the place. And you can feel that, you can really, when you sit in meditation, but at the same time, the split is very clear. It becomes so sharp, like the sharpness of a razor knife. Like really very clear cut, clear split.
That's why those senses are so important. And one sense that people don't use at all is common sense.
Yeah, yes, that's right. That's so right. Anya, I would like to give something to the viewers, if you don't mind. There's a little mudra, because when I sat before the interview, I thought, oh, what can I give Anya's audience? And what came through was the mudra, which is a finger position. So basically you align the energy of your fingertips in a particular way that creates a physical sensation and result. So there is the energy, the mudra that connects the masculine with the feminine and the inner child. It's very simple. So you bring your index finger together with your thumb.
Right or left?
I start on the right with the masculine, and then you link it with the left like a ring. And then you connect the remaining 3 fingertips. So this is the masculine, the feminine, the inner child. And just hold it in a relaxed position and maybe close your eyes for a few seconds. Take a few deep breaths. What it does, it immediately brings a sense of alignment. It creates harmony, and it brings you into the heart center, into the center of peace. I love that one because it always brings a smile on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much for asking me to be here. The time is just flying.
Yes, and I want to ask you how people can find you and what is the way you actually appreciate they reach out to you, and what is the best way to connect, how you like them to connect, where they should go, and I'm going to attach everything down below.
Okay, so I'm mostly active on Instagram. I have deleted a lot of videos on my YouTube channel, but now that I'm in the country, I will resume more activity on YouTube. But Instagram, which is at Mueller Tomaz, MUELLERTOMAZ, or my YouTube channel, which is Tomaz Mueller. But there are only a few videos on the YouTube channel at the moment because I've cleared a lot of stuff out. And yeah, and then I've got a website. I've got a book that is available on Amazon if people want to get the Kindle version of the book. So,
and if they want to have a session with you, like a healing session, they go through your website.
They go through the website, and if people are unsure, I have a free discovery call for about 15 minutes, half an hour. We can have a chat to see what would be a good approach to take. Thank you so much for asking, because I keep forgetting it. Seriously,
you're already out of here. You're out of here. I know.
Okay, Mrs. Perkins wants to say goodbye. Hello,
goodbye.
Mrs. Perkins. Come here. Come here, Perky. Come here. Come here. Say goodbye to Anya. She's gonna go for a walk now.
Oh, okay, Mrs. Perkins, you are the sweetest lady. You're the lady of the day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for watching us.
Ciao.
Let me stop here.